Put down your knitting, Grandma. The real entertainment starts here.
Tornado's blasting around right in front of us. It's tearing something apart right now. Big time flash. Shoot, I think a semi got flipped. Are you okay? This is great. Hey, there's big rail cover. We gotta go, sir. Hang in the cut.
I hate Oklahoma.
I'm sure many people may feel the same way some days.
Including people who live there.
That's right. This is Trisha Talk. I'm Gary.
I'm Sue.
I'm Brandon.
And we're here with another show talking about the crazy weather the last week and a half in the Midwest, Northeast, just about anywhere.
It's been exhausting.
It really has been. As of the airtime of this show, still over 200,000 people in Texas without power.
Yeah, and there's plenty in Chicago still without power, too. And, of course, a lot of people out of not having any power in upstate New York and places in that general vicinity.
The last week and a half, or almost 2 weeks, have just been absolutely nuts. It's been crazy. It has been absolutely bizarre, and a lot of areas that were some have been hit with severe weather over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And some places haven't, but they made up for it in about 4 days.
I mean, Chicago basically had a tornado outbreak on the 14th, and then they had the Derechos on the 15th.
So it was like...
and there was an earthquake in there someplace, too.
Yeah, there was an earthquake in there.
It's like, what?
Tornado outbreak, Derechos, you name it. Chicago had it. Of course, they tried to advertise it, too. Hey, come to us. We have Derechos.
We have Derechos.
And I'm like, well, I don't know if that's a good advertising point or not, but anyway.
Chicago, the Derecho city.
Don't give them any ideas because, we don't have to put a copyright claim. I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell you what, before we talk about all this, it's time again to open up. Yes, folks, it's been returned just for you out there. Yes, it's time for Brandon's Weather Dictionary.
Yes.
And now, from his secret lair for all things weather, Brandon's Weather Dictionary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I am once again ensconced in the weather bunker here, and I have some information for you. We're going to touch on a couple of definitions today, and I think they're very fitting because it is summertime. It is severe weather season, so we are likely to see severe thunderstorms, possibly even some tornadoes, and you might see these things. So let's take a look at them. What am I talking about? Well, the first item I want to touch on is something called a roll cloud. And no, that's not something you can buy at the bakery. On rare occasions, a shelf cloud may actually turn into a roll cloud. What happens is the motions of warm air riding up and over top of the shelf cloud, and then the cool air going underneath it creates a swirl, or what we call an eddy of air. The cloud takes on the shape of a horizontal tube that seems like it's literally rolling across the sky or rolling on its axis. Now, it's typically detached from the thunderstorm on its leading edge, so it's out ahead of the storm. If you were in a plane and you were up high enough, you would see the roll cloud before you, or below you, and then the rest of the body of the thunderstorm in the distance. Just off behind it. Mm-hmm. So if you ever see what literally almost looks like a roll of dirty cotton in a way, that is a roll cloud. Now there's another type of cloud that's associated with severe thunderstorms, and they often also occur behind thunderstorm gust fronts, and those are scud clouds. Now scud clouds are very low cloud fragments. They are typically associated with, as I said, either gust fronts and or severe thunderstorms. They're pretty ragged and wind-torn in appearance and are usually separate from the storm. By the untrained, these are sometimes misinterpreted as tornadoes because they can hang very low to the ground. I've seen that myself a few times where you see something that, almost kind of sort of looks like it could maybe be a funnel or a tornado. But if you look at it for a minute, you'll realize it's not, because there's no rotation and there's no debris cloud. It just looks like a rugged, wind-torn cloud formation that kind of has the appearance of maybe reaching the ground, and that would be a scud cloud. That's it. That is our weather definition.
All right, thanks, Brandon. I do appreciate it, and Brandon's going to try to keep that update a little bit. He likes looking up terminology. That's what he does in the bunker all day.
In the bunker.
I'm just repeating what I've been told. So.
Okay.
All right.
Jeez, poor Brandon.
Anyway, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I thought we'd dig into this a little bit.
It's just been insane.
Brandon will be back. Brandon will be with us in just a moment. He'll be talking about the flooding in the Northeast, but wow, how about Chicago and parts of Illinois, Iowa, you name it. They got
completely
slapped.
nuts. Major derecho started in South Dakota, roared across Iowa, rolled on into Illinois and into Indiana, and thankfully kind of fell apart before it got to Columbus.
They did have some issues with severe weather in lower Michigan too, if I remember right, part of this, but it did wash out before it got here. But I do remember, and this is where our weather geekdom comes in. I was able to look. I could see, the day. He goes, "Oh yeah, that's what's the decaying anvil." Oh, that was yes. God, you're boring, Gary. I said, "Yes, I am."
Yes, Gary's boring.
But you can see
okay. We like him anyway.
That's right. So before we go into some of the detail, let me give you just an overview of what derechos are again, because everybody, what is that? What does it mean? Because actually, there must be a million different definitions out there. But these are what we consider the parameters. Derechos are widespread damaging wind events from clusters of severe thunderstorms. They're most common in late spring and summer. They affect parts of the Great Plains and Midwest experience the derechos most often, although the East Coast will get slammed with one if they're strong enough. Now, derechos, usually the parameters are it must travel at least 400 miles and be about 60 miles in length. In other words, from the top of the squall line to the end, it should be about that. And it has extreme winds of at least wind gust over 60 miles an hour, sometimes much stronger. The derecho in 2012 that went through the Midwest and went through Ohio, some places reported 90-mile-an-hour winds.
Yes, that was unforgettable.
That was really incredible. So that's what they're looking at as what a derecho is. Basically, and so this was interesting, most derechos will start from a cluster of supercells.
Yes, which is what happened this time.
Yeah, and they'll become one giant line of storms and propagate to the north and south, whatever direction they're going, and just become basically one large line of very strong, very what they call outflow dominant storms, which produces all these incredible winds. But they also produce tornadoes.
They also do produce tornadoes. And what I found really interesting about, well, actually, there are a lot of things that are interesting about this storm. At one time, Chicago had their radar up, and you could basically see that all of these spin-ups were pretty much at the front of the line.
Mm-hmm. Right. And
that was quite interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's what they call is a QLCS system, convective system. In other words, the whole area rotates. You get like what they call a comma head at the top of the storm. That's like a little meso low pressure system rotating, and storms get caught up in that rotation and will spin up quick tornadoes. Although some can be very devastating and deadly. There have been derecho events that will kick out EF2, I think even a couple of EF3s have happened. They don't last long, but they can be very violent, very short-lived, but they can do a lot of damage. Now, this derecho event, the tornado event that moved through Chicago, so how many tornadoes were there? I think...
they haven't finished their storm surveys yet.
Okay.
I think they're up to around 11.
11? Wow. So that's a lot of
totally
storms.
Crazy, and some of them had fairly long tracks.
Yes, I saw pictures and video of some of these supercells, and they're just incredible. So you have the supercells with tornadoes one day, then the next day a derecho moves through.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and at one point, the National Weather Service office in Chicago actually had to call Gaylord, Michigan, and say, "Hey, you guys need to take over because we're going to our storm shelter," because they warned their own area.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I get the impression that actually what they did is, since these things were spinning up kind of unpredictably, they just warned the whole leading edge of the storm.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's exactly what happened. They had no choice. So these storms, we talk about them, and they can move so quickly. And sometimes I talk to people after the 2012 duration, and they go, "Gary, just like numb because it was on you and out of here real quickly, and I just didn't know what to make of it."
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's exactly what surprised everybody about it. But this is a very sophisticated, complex physics class to watch what these storms do. So anyway.
I think one of the most amazing things about these storms in Chicago, though, and what really surprised me, is apparently there's so far only one fatality.
Thankfully.
So people paid attention.
Yes, they did. I think, sometimes I read some things online and people say, well, the clouds look really ugly, a lot of lightning, so we thought we best get in the shelter. It's like, that's a good point. In fact, if there's big, ugly clouds heading your way, that's always a good idea.
It's always a good idea.
To go hide. Because,
and of course, this happened mostly at night, in the dark, so listening to the warnings was the good thing to do, although some of the people at O'Hare were not so impressed because they were sitting out on the runway in airplanes that were being rocked by strong wind gusts.
Now, there was a report of a possible tornado by the airport. I don't know if that's been confirmed.
There was definitely one at Midway. And I don't know if they've confirmed the one at O'Hare yet or not.
Okay, I'm just wondering. Now, also, just the other day, there was an issue with heavy rains again in that part of the state, causing in Nashville, Illinois, causing the dam to overflow. They thought it might rupture, but they said down the situation under control. Extensive rain on Monday and Tuesday ran over the top of the dam and flooded downstream, which did force the evacuation of residents in Nashville, Illinois. Alex Hagelin, a spokesman for the Washington County Sheriff's Office, he estimated about 200 residents were considered in danger at risk of flooding, said a news release. First responders helped evacuate residents in the downstream area, some of whom reported waist-high water in their homes, including one woman who did require a rescue. And there are some pictures you can see of that, and it will tell you that it was a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, it really was. Because that's the kind of thing, it's on you right away.
Yes, that's the thing. The rains are they're basically knocking the door. They just all come at once.
Yeah.
Some places reported, some places are 2 to 3 inches an hour. Radar Doppler estimates.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I'll tell you what, we're gonna take a break. Not a break, but we're gonna let Brandon talk about the Northeast and what happened in the Northeast states with Vermont, New Hampshire, and everything like that. And so, Brandon, you're up. So let us know what the flooding was there, because that was tremendous.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as you've pointed out here, when Hurricane Beryl came ashore and then it degraded into a post-tropical system, it basically took a northeasterly course straight up through the center of the country. And the last region to get hit was the Northeast or New England area. And they've been hit with thunderstorms and floods this past Sunday here. And they've turned neighborhoods into rivers and washed away streets, and unfortunately even there have been a couple of fatalities here. I actually think we'll start off with some rain totals here, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at.
Okay.
Now, a lot of this, like I said, is in the New England region of the Northeast. Mm-hmm. So we're talking eastern New York up through places like Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, places like that. Okay. So just to give you a couple of examples, one of the hardest hit areas actually took place was in Walden in Caledonia County in Vermont with 7.25 inches of rain. And that happened over the course of one day.
Oh my gosh.
But Gary, you and I talked about this a little bit. This was a situation where you were kind of either in it or you weren't.
Right.
And now Walden was certainly in it, and so were a number of other cities. A place that was definitely not in it was Windsor County, which saw 1/4 inch of rain.
A quarter inch? I mean,
a quarter inch.
One place gets 7.5. One place gets 1/4 of an inch of rain.
Rain definitely fell heavier across northern and central Vermont, which actually prompted evacuations in places.
On top of that, Brandon, there have been some concerns up there about some of the dams and the causeways in that area with the flooding rains they had. Any information on that? Because that's been a subject of discussion with many parts of the country over the last few months with all the heavy rains in some parts about issues with dams and causeways. Anything up there that you can talk about?
Yes, there is, and that's a very interesting point. This region of the country is the oldest region of our country. This is where settlers first landed. They also have the oldest infrastructure, and there has been, as you pointed out, concern about the age of that infrastructure and its ability to handle stormwater and flood runoff. According to the Associated Press, it would seem that more than 1/3 of the dams in Vermont, for instance, are more than a century old. some of these dams were actually they're not actually designed to provide protection from flooding.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually thousands of obsolete dams that remain in our rivers that will not provide such protection, contrary to what many people might like to think.
That's an interesting point.
And if a dam is not created specifically for providing flood protection, then what happens is those dams are regularly full and they don't provide any storage or runoff capacity.
Okay.
And when they do decide to try to lower the water level by opening these dams, what happens is those floodgates open and they direct water outside of the main channel, usually at very high velocities, which will cause bank erosion.
Okay.
And as those banks erode, that can have a deleterious impact on the surrounding communities.
Okay. Hey, thanks for the update. Now let's move on to more here on Twister Talk with Sue. Sue, I thought was interesting because we talk about it, and I'll mention it again. You know, depending where you were in Vermont, some places got 7.5 inches of rain, or 5 inches, or 6 inches. One place gets like a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, it was a very small swath of
very compacted.
Yeah, very odd. And then of course was this the next day or was this the same day that they had tornadoes?
Yes, so there have been...
it's been so much, it's hard to keep track of all of it.
There's been so many severe weather incidents this summer and this all year so far. Lots of tornadoes, a record number of flooding events, a Hurricane Beryl, which did basically an incredible amount of damage all over the Caribbean islands, and then of course into Texas, and they caused the flooding rains. It caused the flooding rains in New York and Massachusetts and Vermont and you name it, and a lot of flooding in Canada. I haven't heard a lot about it, but I know there was
we need to look into that.
Significant rains in Canada. The Canadians are a little more tight-lipped about what they share. They like to get everything done and then post it.
I don't think they get as hysterical as we do because they're calm there.
Yes,
it's the donuts and stuff.
That's right. You know, it's like, well, okay, I think there. You know, it's. The house is floating down the river.
I think one of the best examples of that is the very famous photograph, which I think was taken in Saskatchewan, of a gigantic tornado in the distance and a Canadian steadfastly mowing his lawn.
Yes. Yes, let's hear it for our brothers up north of the border.
You betcha, love them.
Just nothing bothers you, does it?
Yep.
Nope, we're okay.
Nope, it's okay.
We're okay. Okay, well, anyway. But anyway, it's been a crazy weather week and a couple of weeks here. People say, well, will it calm down now? No.
Although I have to note that the hurricane situation right now kind of has, because there's a blocking high in place off Bermuda.
Right. Yes, and that's going to inhibit storm formation at least for another 7 to 10 days from what I understand. After that, who knows?
Yeah, after that, who knows? But at least we have a hurricane break.
Yeah, I think we're going to... It looks... They're still talking in August. It may really ramp up again. We'll see. We're still too far out, so it's hard to put anything down. But they're still calling for an above normal season. And my concern is that's going to prove somewhere along the line to be true.
Yeah.
And we get into the fall, that may be more of a big concern as we get into August and September than it may be right now. But hopefully, like I said, it won't become,
I think it's the kind of thing they would rather be wrong about. But,
absolutely. I hope they are. Are. But we've just given you a good rundown on what's happening weather-wise because it's been crazy. It's been nuts.
It's been nuts. And, to follow some of this stuff, our friend Raymond has been posting a lot of stuff from his area, his part of the woods, which is New York, the state of New York. And they've had some terrible damage there. The small, I don't know how big Rome, New York is, but they had at least 2 churches destroyed and a lot of damage on the main drag there.
Yeah, Rome is a fair-sized, town, maybe a small city type thing. They've got a good population there, so it's not like it's 3 houses and a trailer court. They had a lot of damage there, and I believe that tornado may have been rated an EF2. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have to get Raymond on with us and have him break down everything and talk about, because he's got some great weather history and weather lore he shares. And don't forget, we'll keep telling you, join the Facebook page. Twister Talk Facebook.
A lot of cool stuff
there.
Oh,
man. We post things. We'll post some pictures of what's been going on so you can go, wow, it's worse than I thought, or, oh, those guys are so funny. Because we'll put some funny stuff out there sometime.
Yeah, we even do post some humorous stuff now and then.
Yes, right. Usually read Timmer's forecast.
Oh, God.
Here we go again. Yes, we're sticking our...
Poor Reed.
I know. I'll tell you what, though. We will let you know a couple of things. We have some good interviews coming down the road.
Yes.
Not going to tell you who they are, but we are looking forward to those.
Yes.
We're going to have some great interviews. And also, we'll be talking to some... we're working on getting a couple of things set up with some people that you may have seen on television. Not going to give anything. Well, no more information. No, not weather forecasters, but guys that drive in their cars on YouTube and take pictures. So we're talking to them. We'll see what happens. All right. Otherwise, I think we've done all the damage we can do.
Yeah.
So. This is Trish and Talk. I'm Gary.
I'm Sue.
I'm Brandon.
And we'll see you next time.